Alright, what is good, ladies and gentlemen, is the Mass Comparer back again with another comparison, and today we are doing a comparison between Yakuza 0 and Zenless Zone 0. I did not actually realize now that they both have 0 in the name, but yeah, these are the, as of the current date, these are the only two video games that I've really talked about on this channel, so because I'm doing all these Zenless Zone 0 videos now that I caught up to the main story of the game, I thought it would be fun to do a comparison between the two games. So yeah, this is the stories of the game basically, not the actual gameplay or anything. So yeah, so they are like kind of opposites, and they do feel like pretty opposite games and stuff. So this is hopefully it's going to be a fun comparison. So all the comparisons are fun, so this is just another one. Anyway, let's begin, starting off with the protagonist. So in Yakuza 0, you have the dual protagonist of Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima, and in Zenless Zone 0, you have Wise and Bell, and I do like Kiryu and Majima more so than Wise and Bell because they are just more interesting in my opinion, and so for that reason, I'm going to say Yakuza 0, they have the better protagonist. I do like the struggles that they face more so than like Bell and Wise, where they're just like helping all the agents go on missions, like and they got this loose side plot in the background where they're trying to find their teacher and stuff. But other than that, they just help out the agents with whatever like stuff they have going on. So because of that, like I more so enjoy Kiryu and Majima and actual struggles that they face, like in their goals with Kiryu trying to protect Tachibana and Majima trying to protect Makoto and stuff. I think that it is more engaging and I do like it better. So yeah, in terms of antagonists in Zenless Zone 0, the antagonists are like the Ethereals, the Hollows, specifically the Exaltists and Sarah and stuff. And in Yakuza 0, you do have Sohei Dojima, you have Kuze, Awano, Shibusawa, so you do have like a lot more interesting protagonists, protagonists and antagonists in Yakuza 0, so I'm going to give the point to Yakuza 0. I think, yeah, they're much more charming antagonists. They actually feel more so like villains. Sarah, so far in Zenless Zone 0, she has not done anything really. She has just every so often summoned an ethereal to fight the agents and stuff, and the story is taking too long to actually make progress and stuff. So it feels like the enemies of the story, it's like, I guess it's cool here and there where it's like Bringer, he turns into a ethereal, and I don't know, you do see like sometimes, like I think that in terms of actual villain designs, probably, yeah, Zenless Zone 0 takes it, but that's not a point here. So we'll get to that probably later, but yeah, so in terms of actual antagonists, like Kuze, Awano, Shibusawa, Sohei Dojima, they're just more interesting and stuff. They're like more directly fighting against the protagonist, which is Kiryu and Majima, rather than Sarah, who is like, I guess she is the main kind of antagonist so far, and she's kind of just in the background, like pulling some strings here and there. I guess you could also say Zelda, she's like also an antagonist in the most recent update, but yeah, really just not the most interesting ones compared to Yakuza 0. So in terms of sidecast, I'm giving this to Zenless Zone 0. All the agents are amazing and great, and they are much better than Yakuza 0. You do have like Nishikiyami and stuff, and I guess also like Makoto and Lee and stuff, and they're just not as interesting as like the very unique different agents that are in Zenless Zone 0. They are a great sidecast, I guess, and all of them are good. There are no bad characters, and if you want more thoughts on them, then I suggest watching my, I did ranking videos for both the Yakuza 0 characters and the Zenless Zone 0 characters, but yeah, the Zenless Zone 0 characters, they are much more interesting, so I'm going to give it to Zenless Zone 0. In terms of settings, I'm actually going to give this to Yakuza 0, because I do like Kamurocho and Satsunbori more so than New Era do. New Era do, it just has too many like locations that feel kind of similar, and like even Waifei Peninsula, it feels kind of small, to be honest. Like I do, a lot of the locations, they do feel like they should be bigger than they actually appear to be. So because of that, I'm going to say that Yakuza 0, I do like it takes place in like the 80s and stuff, so Japan in the 80s, it is like a very nice setting, and so I did like it. The Grand, it's a nice location and stuff. The actual Dojima like family area, the headquarters, I guess the Tojo clan headquarters, it all looks very nice, and so I'm going to give the point to Yakuza. In terms of the rules of the games, I guess the rules of Yakuza is like Yakuza type rules, like what you're allowed to do as a Yakuza member and stuff like that. Like for example, Majima, yes, like pays debts if he wants back in the Tojo clan. And the rules of Zenless Zone 0 are like Hollows exists, and Ethereal, if you stay in them too long, you turn to an Ethereal and stuff, and then there's agents and they need proxies and stuff. And so I'll give the point to Zenless Zone 0 just because it is more unique, I'd say. So yeah, I think that like all the stuff that has to do with the miasma and the hollows and stuff, I guess it is a bit more interesting as like a rule set compared to like Yakuza, which it's not a bad rule set, it's just not as unique, it's just pretty standard Yakuza / Mafia type rules. So in terms of the plots, I'm going to give this to Yakuza 0. I think it has a much more interesting plot. I really liked it. I was really engaged. It's a nice MacGuffin story of trying to find out the owner of this plot of land that everyone is trying to fight over. So you have Kiryu protecting Tachibana, who's after it, and then you have Majima protecting Makoto, who is the sister of Tachibana and who is the owner of the plot of land. So I think that it is a very engaging story compared to Zenless Zone Zero, which is very much like, it's very slow paced. I did mention it in my story review for the game thus far. It is just, the pacing is absolutely terrible. It is some of the worst pacing that I think a game has, that I've seen up to this point, and it's really slow, and because of that, yeah, and it feels like no progress is being made. Like, I've been, since like the very, in all of like chapter 2 so far, like nothing has progressed really. It's like you're still just chasing after the ethereals and not ethereals, the exaltus and stuff. And I guess in chapter 2 it's like they do kind of at the end of chapter 1 they introduce the exaltus, but then it's like since then it's like you're just chasing after them, and it's like no real progress is being made. And even when you defeat Isolde, who turns out to be the overseer, it's like, okay, but she wasn't even like one of the big threats or anything. She was just like a puppet being controlled by someone else. So it just feels like no progress is being made. And Yakuza 0, it is a nice story of like a MacGuffin story that of a bunch of factions trying to find the owner of a land that they're all fighting for. So I'm gonna give it to Yakuza 0. In terms of cultural impact, that's a good one. I'm not sure. I think probably I'm going to give it to Zenless Zone 0. I think it had a larger cultural impact than Yakuza 0. I think maybe you could say that the Yakuza games are more culturally iconic, but I think that if you're comparing just the games directly, this is specifically Yakuza 0 and not the other Yakuza games. So because of that, I'm going to say Zenless Zone 0 has made a huge impact since its release, so I'm going to give it to Zenless Zone 0. In terms of what adults would like better, I think adults would like both games, to be honest, but I'll give the point to... probably, I don't know, they're all, like, I think probably most people that play Zenless Zone 0, I wouldn't say adults, but like probably like young adults, like not, I guess, people in their 40s or 50s and stuff. So I'll give the point to, but I'll probably say Yakuza, because I think that a lot of adult, like the primary, I think a lot of, anyone that is playing Yakuza 0 is probably an adult, so I'll give the point to Yakuza. In terms of what kids are playing, I don't know if kids are necessarily playing either game, but I think that if they were, then they are probably going to play Zenless Zone 0. It is much more like kid-friendly and catered to kids, so I will give the point to, Zenless Zone 0. In terms of clothing, I'm going to give the point to Zenless Zone 0. I think Yakuza does have very nice clothing. I think Kiryu with like his fit, it looks very nice and stuff. Also Majima, it all looks great. All of the character outfits look very good. However, I do think that Zenless Zone 0, each agent just has their own unique like clothing and style. It looks very nice, so I'm going to give the point to Zenless Zone 0. In terms of action, that's good. I think both games have very good action, with Yakuza being more so like martial arts and stuff, and Zenless Zone 0 being very much like agents fighting, and like it's more of a fantasy kind of action and stuff. So I'm going to give the point to, I'm not sure which I like better. I think Yakuza, it's more impressive, but Zenless Zone 0, it's more unique, I'd say, and more interesting. So that's a good, I'm going to give a point to both, actually. I'm going to say, I'll say point to both. And I think for adults, I'm going to go back and give a point to as well to Zenless Zone 0, because I think I really can't decide on that. So in terms of drama, which one has the better drama? Definitely Yakuza 0. Once again, the story was very engaging. I was very invested to see what was going to happen next, unlike in Zenless Zone 0, where there are moments where it's like I do want to see what's going to happen and stuff, specifically in recent memory, like I guess, I don't know, the fight with Isolde and Orphe, I thought that was pretty good. Alice and Yuzawa, when Yuzawa sacrifice, she like lets Alice go in order to like sacrifice herself, pseudo-sacrifice, whatever you want to say. So I thought like there is good drama in Zenless Zone 0, but Yakuza overall, it was just very engaging. All the like twists and turns of the story, I thought it was very good, so I'm going to give it the point to Yakuza. In terms of equipment, I'm going to give this to Zenless Zone 0. All the weapons that the characters use, they are much more interesting. In Yakuza, they don't really have any equipment per se. It's just, I don't know, basic knives maybe and some guns here and there. But in Zenless Zone 0, each character has their own unique weapons, their own unique equipment and stuff, and it is much better than Yakuza, which doesn't really have too much equipment to mention. In terms of the actors / voice actors, I'm gonna give a point to both. I think both games like have great voice actors and stuff. I think specifically like Majima, his voice actor is absolutely great. Less so in this game, more so in the later games. This one's like he's much more calm and collective than he is when he becomes like Mad Dog. So, but yeah, I think all the Zenless Zone 0 voice actors, they do a good job. I think all the Yakuza voice actors do a good job, so I'm just gonna give a point to both. In terms of which one has the better soundtrack, I'm giving this to Zenless Zone 0. Absolutely. great soundtrack, I think, in all the locations. It is very good music. In the newest update, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the song is. I really did try to find it, but like, there's a really good guitar like solo that plays. Like, specifically, I remember when Ferrix was like in the few scenes that like Ferrix was talking. I remember there was like good like guitar solo like soundtracks in the background, which were very good. When Astra, yeah, when you play as her and her assist basically, where it's like she sings the song original. Great song, loved it very much, and so I think overall I'm going to give the point to Zenless Zone Zero. Yakuza itself doesn't really have I don't know if it really has music I don't remember any music from it, so if there is music, it's not that as memorable as Zenless Zone Zero. So in terms of visuals, I'm going to give it to Zenless Zone Zero. It looks very nice, very beautiful looking game. I'd say the art style is great. Yakuza, it also has very good visuals, I'd say, but it just, Zenless Zone Zero, it is much more unique, the visuals, and so I'm going to give the point to Zenless Zone Zero. It looks very nice, although Yakuza, it is like very nice visuals as well, but yeah, overall I like the Zenless Zone Zero visuals more. In terms of which one has the better title, okay, Yakuza 0 or Zenless Zone Zero. I think Zenless Zone Zero, it's a more unique title. Yakuza 0, it is, I'm going to give the point to Zenless Zone Zero. I think it is a more unique title, I'd say, compared to Yakuza 0, which I guess it's not bad for like as a prequel game. I think as a prequel game title, it works very well because like it's from the Yakuza franchise, and it's like, okay, we're going to do a prequel game. What do you call it? You call it Yakuza 0 because it's like before the first Yakuza game. So I think it works good as a prequel title, but I think Zenless Zone Zero, it's a much more unique name, so I'm going to give it to that. And then finally, which one I personally like better? That's tough. That's honestly, that's really good. This is just story. This is not like actual gameplay wise. All this has been story. So I think personally, it's like the overall, like the story, I guess. So including like it's not like the plot of the story because that's its own thing. So overall, that's tough. I don't know which I like better. I really like Yakuza 0. It is my favorite Yakuza game so far that I have seen. I haven't played any of the Yakuza games, but in terms of like story, it was my favorite one that I've watched so far. And Zenless Zone Zero, I think that it has like, once again, there's like certain aspects that are better for each one. So it is difficult to say which one I personally like more. I think I'm gonna give it to, yeah, this is tough, I don't know. I think probably like on instinct, I'm thinking Zenless Zone Zero, so I think I'll just give the point to Zenless Zone Zero because personally I do think that it is more interesting, I guess, overall compared to Yakuza, which it is extremely good, but it does like take elements from stuff we've seen before compared to Zenless Zone Zero, which is like, it feels like its own unique thing, which I do kind of like more about it. So personally, I think I do enjoy Zenless Zone Zero more. Not as again, this isn't like necessarily the games because I haven't played the Yakuza games, and I'm not taking into account like the gameplay or stuff of Zenless Zone Zero. This is like the I don't know. It's weird because when I say like story of each, when I'm comparing the stories of the games, it's like you would think that the plot would play like a key role into it, but it's like overall like all the stuff, including the characters, the settings and stuff, and so yeah, I have to take everything into account. So yeah, so let us add up all the points. So Yakuza ends up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, and Zenless Zone Zero ends up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it comes out to 13 here, 8 to 13 in favor of Zenless Zone Zero. So Zenless Zone Zero is the winner. Yeah, so that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies, video game stories, anime, web series, anything that you want me to review or rank or compare anything, leave it in the comments and I will maybe possibly check it out or consider it. But yeah, that is pretty much all there is to it. So let's leave it at that.